Hi, I'm Dr. Jeff Calissi. I'm the Director of Percussion Studies at Eastern Connecticut State University, and I'm here to talk to you about Scarf Dance by Cecile Chaminade, arranged for xylophone or marimba by John B. Quick. Now, the original is from a ballet and performed on the piano. In fact, you might have seen some examples on YouTube of the performance on piano, but not many for the mallet instruments. And that's actually a good thing, because the amount of musical information that's on the page that's part of the arrangement brings about the musicianship and musical choices of the individual player. So what this video is going to talk to you about are three main sections along with some helpful hints so that you can come up with your own individual performance. For further reading, I suggest you look at an article I wrote for Percussive Notes Journal called Guidelines for Marimba Practice and Performance. So, without further ado, let's get into the first section and the demonstration of all of the sections that will allow for you to come up with your own musical interpretation of Scarf Dance. Begin this first section with the tempo indication valse moderato, which means moderate waltz, or something you could dance to. After all, this is for a ballet. And this first line should give you all the information you need to know in order to play, but you could spend hours agonizing over exactly how to play it. But if you take into consideration the concept of what you're supposed to be doing, and in the context of where you're headed, it brings about a much better flow of the music and motion forward. For instance, you have piano followed by tenuto markings followed by crescendo. Well, all of that is great if you only take into consideration the first four bars, but this is a multi-line piece. So, in knowing where that crescendo winds up going, not rather where it winds up on the downbeat, should give you a good idea of the choices you can make in order to really bring about the music. Now, by the third line, you have this word delicamente, which means delicate, and it's eighth notes followed by eighth rests, and a pianissimo. So again, this is an understanding that you should probably be using the mallets in order to really bring about that delicate nature of what the music is being asked to do, but also in the context of where it's headed. And that happens right around the number 4, which is a recap of the A melody. Now right before the number 4, you have two measures of diminuendo. But since this piece was written around the time of the popularity of rubato, stretching the tempo, you may want to do that as well. It helps usher in the next section and allows the listener to know that the music is coming to a completion before the next section begins. This next section, marked andantino, roughly translates to chord note equals 80. It doesn't have a lot of musical information, but there are two rhythmic things I'd like to point out. Number one is the grace note followed by that roll. Now, I will say that if it becomes a problem, it's best just to leave it out, because if it becomes a part of it sacrificing the melody and the rhythm, then it's best to leave some of those indications out. It's not going to change the music all that much. Number two are the triplets, followed by eighth notes and then triplets as well. Now, triplets can be counted in a variety of different ways, but I prefer this method, which is a number followed by the word trip, followed by the word let. So in the case of the music, that would sound like this: 1 and 2 triplet, 1 and 2 triplet. What does that mean? Well, if you could say it rhythmically, it's very likely you could play it rhythmically. Now this last section, marked allegro, aren't a lot of measures. However, if you look closely, there is a DC, which means the capo, go back to the top, where you play the original melody once again. Now in the allegro, please pick a tempo that is quick, but not overtly fast, where you're sacrificing the accuracy of the mallets and the music. Also, follow the sticking. Now this was originally written for something else, and so the arranger went so far as to make sure that all of the notes are being played in the right or the left in the correct manner. And it may seem a little bit strange, especially with some crossovers towards those last two measures, but use the retardando to your advantage. And as you get back to the recap, that will allow for the music to unfold once again, but in a slightly different way. Because it's tradition when you do recap a melody to change it up just a bit, not too much, but at least allow for the listener to hear the melody once again, but just slightly different, so that the music does come to a natural conclusion.